All right, we are live with Nina Buik. Nina, you have pretty much done it all. We were just talking, you've been the president of Roscoe Village here in Illinois. You've been on nonprofits. You've been on numerous boards. You've led the brand and been a senior leader at Ingram Micro, a $43 billion company last time I checked. You've done just about all of it. So thank you for being here. I'm so glad that you could be here.
Oh my gosh, Sabrina, thank you so much for having me. We were just talking about, um, I, I love having coffee talks with you because we cover such a variety of topics, and I appreciate joining you today and your viewers. And thank you for posting my blog about my experience and my father working at my father's diner when I was growing up. I am as you know, I am still a child of immigrant parents who came from Greece and started in the restaurant business in the US. I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. And from there, I lived there most of my life. Then we moved to Chicago, relocation for my husband, right around the time that I joined Ingram. And then now we live in Florida. So kind of traveling around, but I've had the wonderful experience of, as you mentioned, serving on boards. And I think, we talked about currency, and I will tell you that I often tell people, I've told my children, the people that I work with, not all currency is green.
Right.
That you can do so many things. Some of my best work was done pro bono for no
Right.
money,
Right.
serving the community in Roscoe Village, the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's team and training program, helping teams complete 7 marathons and 1 hike for discovery, raising lots of money. And that was because my mom had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And just feeling like you're giving to the community, that's currency. And we shouldn't discount that. You learn so much.
Yeah. And you hit it on the head when we for many reasons. When we get together, we do tend to cover the gamut of just about everything. And that was sort of the precipice of what started this conversation and having you on the live, was we started to talk about Agile leadership, and we were talking about how as a senior leader at Ingram Micro, but even given your role sort of across the board now, as we just heard across sort of the US at least, and all the work you do across partnerships and sort of this channel ecosystem, how are you helping other people? How are you yourself retaining top talent? Because I'll tell you what, that has been one of the most difficult things for organizations right now and leaders right now is how do I retain that top talent? So I'll ask you any guidance there, or what do you do?
Okay. Well, let's, first of all, it is an absolute privilege to do what I do every day. I pinch myself. I wake up every day and I get to work with extraordinary people who trust me with their careers, to coach them, to guide them, to help them achieve their objectives. And so I want to start there from a place of humility and gratitude. The second thing is you positioned it as retaining. I don't focus really on that. I don't think of retention. I don't wake up and go, God, am I going to lose somebody? It's a crazy market out there. I continue to focus on developing. Things are going to happen no matter what. Opportunities are going to come people's way. And am I preparing them for that? For whatever's next? If it's next within our organization or next in the world of tech that we work in, if they're going to be the best version of themselves, then I've done my job, right? So, and then we'll continue to bring in new people and grow them and make them stronger. So I think of it just more. I don't focus on retention. I focus on development.
Okay. And that makes a lot of sense as somebody who absolutely obsesses about learning and enablement and development and my own personal growth. I mean, I've been very transparent about, I have mentors like you, I have coaches, I ask tough questions. Something that law school taught me and practicing law was I don't have to be the smartest person in the room. I just have to be able to find the right answer faster than anyone else. And I do
love
that by
that.
surrounding myself with brilliant people like you, where I can go, hey, Nina, how do I handle this problem? Or what do you think about this? Can we, sit down for coffee and talk about it? So, one thing that came up in our coffee talk was this idea or concept of agile leadership, and an agile workforce. Help us understand what that even means. What does agile leadership mean? What is an agile workforce?
Yeah, well, I'm going to take it to another level. So, okay. First of all, I want to go back to what you said before, and then that'll tee up where I'm going. Um, just simply put, and what keeps my mind sane and how I coach everybody around me, two types of problems, right? I grew up in the restaurant business. There's two types of problems. Either the ketchup bottle's empty or the restaurant's burning down. When I'm working with a team, I want to make sure that they know the difference and they know how to handle each one. The latter is pretty simple. Run like hell, get out of the building. It doesn't really matter. Don't even worry about texting me if that's the right. But empowering them to know that difference, which means that 99% of the time it's something that they can solve. I want to empower them to do that, to solve those problems. Being agile in today's world, I mean, my gosh, the world turned upside down and sideways, and it affected everybody. And looking at it, I'd rather say less agile, more adaptive leadership. You have to adapt to what's going on. You have to adapt to each individual's needs in this new world, right? Each person, they might have children, they might have parents living with them, they have so many different things. So you have to look at each individual and say, how can I lead them through this? How can I guide them so they continue to be productive, fulfilled in their lives, both personally and professionally? And you do that. It's part of it is empathy, and then part of it is just digging deep. And you've got to get them to talk and to trust. And once you do that, I think that you are really helping to, again, going back to retention, you're retaining more people. People are going to leave. It is, what are they calling it? The great resignation. I
Right,
there was an
right,
article in Forbes.
right.
It is what it is. It'll level. That doesn't worry me. What worries me is, are they prepared? I
Mhm.
I love my team, and when I
Mhm.
say I love my team, they're my family.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that when they're going to fly, that they're going to be proud of where they came from and ready to go where they're going to go next.
Yeah.
Moving on in your career is like equity in a home.
Mm.
Buying that first home is can be a little difficult because you're unproven, your credit is unproven, so you got to prove yourself. But then you start building equity, and equity in your career, start proving yourself. So the buying of the next home or moving on to the next job, you're more prepared, and then you're more prepared. I want to make sure everyone on my team has the enough equity to grow from wherever they're going to go.
I hope everyone listening is like feverishly taking notes. I want to highlight two things that you said, because both of them gave me chills. I think this is why I just adore you, because you say things that apply to business and leadership. And by the way, I think everybody has influence. Everybody's leading something. Everybody has the at least ability to influence, but you mentioned something, that there's two kinds of problems in the world, and I feel like this is leadership advice and life advice. Either the ketchup bottle is empty or the kitchen's burning down. And you talked about that in how you empower your teams to say, you got this, you can fill the ketchup bottle, I trust you. Use that word, trust you. um, I think that says a lot about not just your kind of leadership, but the kinds of teams that you build and develop. And you talked about that sort of in the sense of really how that's such an important step to investing in your team. And that way you're not really worried about retention, right? You're worried about, are they okay as an individual? And we've talked about this many times before. As an individual, am I helping this person become a better person? And then
That's really what it's all about, isn't it?
yeah,
I mean, and that's what we want for ourselves, that the people around us, that we're surrounding ourselves. I'm so lucky and blessed to have great mentors around me, people I admire that are helping me grow and continue to grow. I mean, until I say goodbye to this world, I'm still growing. I still have the opportunity to grow and learn, but I also have the opportunity to lead and teach and mentor. So this is it's a continuum.
it's a continuum,
How
which is
about that? See how I
always
slipped that in?
continuum. Yeah, thank you. Checks in the mail. So the other thing that you talked about is, moving on in your career is like equity in your home. And I love that. And one of the things that I just so admire about you too is you're such a good storyteller. I love how you can simplify things. And I get that that's so much how your brain works. You're such a good storyteller at really truncating the message and getting to the heart of it, and then giving a great analogy. Like, we can all understand what it's like to have equity in our home. So I wanted to highlight that because I think that's just so important for us to remember as we're kind of building out our leadership, building out our teams, building out our own careers and our own brands. Not to mention those of us who help magnify, organizational brands. So yeah, really good points. Really good points. One thing that we've talked about too is you've mentioned that you don't consider yourself a manager. I think that's so interesting. You're the first person who's ever said that. Tell us a little bit about that. Unpack that for us.
Well, so I guess it's how I view managing.
Okay.
Managing is all right. So in parenting, there's 3 stages of parenting.
Okay.
You're in the micromanagement stage. That's when they're really little and you have to tell them, do your homework, eat your dinner, make your bed, all of those little things. Then they get into high school. And then you're taking a little bit of a step back, right? You're you're macro managing, right? Allowing them to do more things on their own without telling them, letting them fall, make a mistake, whatever. And then you become a consultant when they become an adult, right? You're consulting them. To me, managing is like micromanaging in parenting. Like, you're telling them, cut your meat in smaller pieces, do this, do that. I'm not that person. I hire adults who I trust, and I want to lead them and guide them. That to me is much more impactful, much more valuable. They're adults. They don't need to be managed. If they do, then probably not on the right team.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's so important. I think it's part of this idea of sort of adaptive leadership. And you're the one, by the way.
Everybody to do this, and you may get results, but you're not going to get the best results you can get. You have to customize the experience for each individual. Then you have to look at it as a coach on a team. And you and I've talked about that. I love football, and I watch a lot of and I follow a lot of great football coaches, one in particular who recently passed away. But that's how you build a great team. You find out what their individual strengths are, you put them on the field in different positions, you teach them how to work together, and then you get the results that you want.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny that you bring up coaches, because I know that you follow a lot of coaches. You're constantly reading, you're constantly learning, and you follow a lot of leaders too. Is there a sort of a common denominator? And I know my behavioral analyst is coming out. I want to, break it down to an equation. But is there something that you've noticed? And we've talked about this sort of in the context of rounding the bases, so to speak. Is there something you've noticed in some of those top coaches and leaders that you follow?
Yeah, I would say they put their values before winning and focusing on the players and their growth. Winning should be a byproduct of that, but that's not the focus. Because when you focus on that, you might skip a base, and we'll tell that story in a minute. You won't get safe at home.
So what does that mean? I mean, what is that? I like that. It's the byproduct. Winning is the byproduct of.
Winning is the byproduct of good coaching.
Interesting. Okay. Interesting. And so they're typically, then you're saying what you've noticed is that they're putting their values and what you've talked about, valuing your team, valuing their own growth, and valuing the time that you invest in them and the time that they've trusted that you'll invest in them. So tell us a little bit, what does that mean, rounding the bases? What is that?
Well, as I mentioned to you the other day, I love Bobby Bowden. Coach Bobby Bowden was one of the most winningest football coaches. Was longtime coach at Florida State University. He went to a small college in Alabama. It was called Howard University. It's now called Samford University. And in 1952, he was playing baseball, and at what would have been his only home run on the baseball team, he hit the ball, he rounded the bases, he beat the throw to home, he thought he scored his first college home run, and then the catcher threw the ball to first and he was called out because he forgot to step on the first base bag. So when you're rounding the bases, whether it's life, whether it's at work, whether it's at leadership, or for leadership, got to make sure that you're touching the bags, got to make sure that you're paying attention to the things that really matter. Because it didn't matter. It was bigger than him. He was focused on himself. He just wanted to get home. Oh, I'm thinking about, I'm going to run. And he didn't think that it was bigger than, the game was bigger than him. He needed to touch that first base bag and he missed it. And he tells that story. And I have to tell you that I was working on a writing project several years ago. My daughter went to Florida State as well. And I wrote Bobby Bowden a letter because I needed his help on something. And during football season, he wrote me back. And it meant so much to me. And that led me to this story. And I will never, ever forget how that man has touched my life in profound ways.
Wow. Again, I had a mentor tell me years ago, never underestimate who's watching and learning from you.
Oh, love that.
I
love that.
Isn't that amazing? And you go, you really don't know sort of the ripple effect of your leadership. And that's why, even at Continuum, one of the things that you'll see we constantly post about is everyone has influence. Everyone has the ability to make an impact. That's part of the reason why we do these lives, is to highlight, celebrate, and even brag on people that we think are truly exceptional, because there is that level of impact that we think we should be part of spreading and sharing, So I know we just have another minute barely left. What can other businesses do? What can they do to be agile leaders? What can they do to invest in their team so that they don't have to deal with this, great resignation, as we're calling it? Is there guidance or advice, as sort of parting words, that you would give to other organizations?
Yeah. My answer is going to be twofold. As organizations, continue to look at ways that organizations can adapt to what's happening in the world. I mean, clearly, there's different levels of doing that, from the leadership closer to the associate level to the corporate level. There's many things you can do, ensuring that you're providing them with enough currency, learning opportunity, educational opportunity, growth opportunities. I think all of those are keys to retention. I also think, from an individual leadership perspective, look at your job a little differently. I started out saying that I wake up every day with gratitude and humility. Just a really quick story. I learn a lot from people of all ages. I've learned an extraordinary amount of things from my own children. They've actually taught me to be better parents. They're amazing. But my youngest, who, the story about my youngest, she used to write her teachers every year a thank you note. Every year, all the way through college, she would write her teachers a thank you note. And that led to her joy in life, expressing gratitude. Um, that's really important. Giving, that leads to a fulfilled life.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Nina. Nina, you pulled on the heartstrings yet again. Look at my eyes already watering up. I appreciate you as a person, as a leader. You're just good people. Thank you for this. The comments have been flooding in. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your leadership. We can't wait to see what comes next. I know Nina mentioned it earlier. She has a wonderful blog. And by the way, that where the ketchup story comes from, or the ketchup advice comes from. So definitely check it out. Nina, as we close, where can people find you? Where can they get a hold of you? What should they be looking at? Tell the world what you have going on.
Oh, gosh. You can find me on LinkedIn. Connect with me. I would love to connect with you. I would love to learn more about you as I share more about myself. That's the human experience that I love most. So please do. And again, Sabrina, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for your friendship. I just wish all of you the very best.
Likewise. All right. We'll see you soon. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.